So Staccato expanded their HD lineup with a Glock 19 sized one made out of an aluminum frame. So do what I always do, which is compare it to other stuff, including a Glock 19 clone, the Staccato C2, and the Staccato HD P4 to see where it fits into the lineup. Stick around and watch a grown man's heart and his head be in conflict. So this is the third Staccato HD series pistol that we've had this year. It's almost like they're doing one per quarter, and I'm gonna put the end right at the beginning and say that this is my second favorite Staccato right behind the XC. Yeah, and while I really like this pistol, why I like it has almost nothing to do with performance. It's perceived performance. It feels like it shoots great, but as you'll see in the shooting comparison, if you're a decent shooter, you'll make any gun perform about the same. And what I really like about the gun is it's the first properly Glock 19 size pistol, both from a thickness and a height perspective. And what I really like about it is that it's got a longer muzzle, like the Bull Armory Ultralight is probably the next closest, or the Staccato CS. But the CS is just a little bit too small for my XL sized hands, and the Ultralight is just a little bit too big. So this is a very nice Goldilocks as far as 2011 carry guns is concerned. It is pretty much dimensionally the same as a Glock 19 despite having 4/10 of an inch shorter barrel, and that's thanks to the beaver tail safety. If you line them up beaver tail to beaver tail, they're the same length front to back. So accuracy out of this gun is pretty promising. Putting it on a rest at 25 yards at my gun club, I was getting decent groups. Buffalo Creek 115 at 25 yards off arrest. 6-hour V-Crown, 25 yards off arrest. Yeah, the flyers are me. Like the Series 80 safety, when you're doing a precise slow fire trigger pull, I'm just not quite to the point where I can pull it 100% of the time straight to the rear. So the flyers are definitely me, it's not the gun. So that's cool. It's an accurate, lightweight, compact gun, but it costs a fortune. Now, this is only available in 9mm like the rest of the Staccato HD lineup. It comes in 3 different trim packages, which is what Staccato started doing a few years ago. This is the middle of the road package. This is the preferred package. What preferred means is it's got a black DLC barrel, a night sight for the front sight, and it came with 3 magazines as opposed to 2 magazines. And I paid the same price because Staccatos pretty much cost the same everywhere. At Shields, I got it for $24.99. The base model is about $200 lighter, and then the premium model, I don't know what they call it, is about $200 more, and that's going to have the through the slide cuts on it and even another magazine. And the magazines it comes with are the Glock Mechgar mags. I really like these magazines for use in these pistols. Not so great in Glocks. More on that in a bit. And you can see from my first shots with it, I liked it straight out the door.
This shoots really good. Really good. Look at this. This was 7 yards with that baby gun, and I just zeroed it. So that's like rounds, I don't know, however many that was, 10 plus. That was 15 yards at a pretty good clip. You can see that only 1 0 or out of the 0 zone was dropped. It's a good little gun.
And I don't have it filmed, but another one of my buddies at my gun club shot it. He normally shoots a Shadow Systems MR920P as his carry gun, and he shot this gun and he thought it shot about the same as that gun. It just feels like a special gun, like this is what the HD series was basically leading up to. I ran it with 4 different types of hollow points, even though the other Staccato HD series showed me that was unnecessary.
All right, trying a bunch of different hollow points, see what happens. This is some Hornady American Gunner hollow points. No problem. These are some kind of, these are Blazer jacketed hollow points. These are Federal HSTs. I think these are 147s. And these are Critical Defense Light 100 grain 9mm cartridges. If it's gonna choke, it's gonna choke on these. No problem at all.
And at this point, I really don't know the round count on this gun. It's somewhere between 500 and 1,000 rounds. Probably not quite 1,000, but it is definitely north of 500. I've had it out 3 times, only filming with it twice, and it's a great little pistol. Shoots really well. Its speed, getting precision out of it takes a little bit of learning on how to like stabilize the frame as you're pulling the trigger, because it is, you know, that Series 80 trigger. And the Series 80 trigger at about 4 pounds or so is pretty darn good. It's not any different from what comes on the other HD series Staccatos. As far as eating range ammo, that's not been a problem. Thanks to Buffalo Creek for supporting the channel. They are an excellent range load, and I was shooting their 115s mostly out of this gun. And if you want to check that out, you can check it out here, and that'll help. And if you need to carry that ammo to the range, may I suggest the Run and Gun and Humble Marksman collaboration ammo bags. I know what you're thinking. Hey, I don't need an ammo bag. The ammo comes in boxes. Yes, but ammo boxes take up a ton of space in your range bag. The beautiful thing about ammo bags is they get smaller as you run out of ammo. And the Humble Marksman collaboration with Run and Gun is this beautiful black camouflage with an orange zipper and an electric blue interior. This definitely falls into the camp of something like an Up Lula where you don't think you need one until you use one. It's awesome. There's a link in the description. You can check out my collaboration with Run and Gun. So if you follow the channel, you probably saw my early video on the Staccato HD P4, the first gun in this series to launch, and it had some teething issues. The safeties were a little bit fatter. They have since reprofiled the safeties, and the blend is much better. Doesn't create a hot spot in the web of your hand. I had an issue where the roll pin kind of walked out. So that happened. I don't know how that happened. That rear sight came off. I guess that roll pin walked out. Yeah, no roll pin. They fixed that. That's not an issue anymore either. I felt so good about the gun. I reached out to my buddy Roger at QVO Tactical because he's got the more discreet inside the waistband holsters he's making for the things, and started carrying the thing. And carrying it taught me a couple things about the pistol. So first things first, just like the HD P4, which I carried for quite a while, is that the grip texture is too bitey. Now, it's the same HD grip texture that comes on the other models of pistol, but this is a pistol that's likely to get carried in an inside the waistband holster, and that texture is just too much. So you can see I've wrapped it in some tape to kind of dumb down the texture, because the texture was so much that it was rubbing my stomach. And when I would wear shirts with like a lot of polyester, like those poncho fishing shirts and stuff like that, the grip would make noise as it kind of slipped past this. It's not a problem on t-shirts, but those zero tuck type shirts, it's definitely was an issue. The other thing which is common on these HDs is that there are these weird texture marks on kind of the shoulders of the slide, and those things will grab the holster and leave like marks on the top of the gun. They brush off with your finger, so not a big deal. I don't know what the intended purpose of having these little wave marks on the top of the gun are, but it's got them just like all the other HDs do. That kind of sounds like we're already starting. We'll do negatives before we get into comparison. So another negative about this pistol is that the plates that come with it are not included in the purchase price. They're about 75 bucks a piece, and they're a spacer type plate, meaning that the screws actually thread into the top of the slide. However, you need to use longer screws because it is a spacer. On my HD P4, I managed to yeet the optic in my face because I used 2 short screws. They just kind of walked out. Another thing to be aware of is as you take the gun apart, there is a spring inside this frame, and if you're too rough with the frame with the slide off, the little spring will come out. It's kind of a pain to reseat that spring, but just be aware that there's a spring that keeps the slide stop down, and it will come out of the gun if you tap the frame too hard with the slide off. The final negative is that it's super expensive. I mean, it's a $2,500 carry pistol, which most people aren't going to have an appetite for. But I'm telling you, it's probably my favorite carry 2011. But does that expensive gun guarantee performance? And if you watch the channel, you probably know the answer to this question already. No, buying new shoes doesn't make you run faster and jump higher despite what your first grader says. But if you're so excited about your new shoes that you end up running in them a lot, you may actually become faster because it's encouraging you to run more. And that's definitely what's happening with this little guy. So I compared it to the Shadow Systems MR920, which is a Texas-based Glock clone. It's Glock 19 size. The Staccato C2, which this is kind of taking a shot at, as well as the HD P4. So I started just comparing the recoil in slow motion.
I can't tell you how nice this gun shoots. Like it's the best in its class by a lot. Even the CS, which is a brilliant, brilliant little gun, I think I like this better, although it's been a while since I shot a CS. I don't have a CS to compare it to. And that was with the PMag, by the way. It works with the PMags as well as the fancy Glock mags. This is Competitive Shooting Resource Group, base pad and followers. This is actually 20 round mag on the HD P4. P4 is noticeably softer shooting, weighs about 10 ounces more, so you'd expect it to shoot nicer than the C3.6. It's not a whole lot nicer, but it is nicer. Having a bit longer grip to kind of bear down on is nice. C2 probably is a little bit easier to shoot because the grip is fatter, so it just kind of fills up your hand a bit more. I wouldn't say it's better. It's not wildly different, I guess. Well, let's try again here. The C3.6 definitely jumps just a little bit more, but the gun is a little bit more compact. It's Glock 19 size versus the C2 is a little bit bigger, so they're in the same category, I guess. I'd still prefer the C3.6 to the C2. God, they make it hard to say these names. Just go again just to see. Recoil impulse, honestly, is not wildly different. I think where it's going to shine, and we'll see on the targets when I shoot at close range, but recoil sensation is not wildly different.
Predictably, as the guns got bigger and heavier, I had more control over them because physics is a thing.
Back at about 8 or 9 yards, I'm gonna shoot the guns kind of back to back to back, just a bill drill. We'll do time and hits, see how it goes. Wow. It's a 203. I kind of lost the dot on the draw, but very nice gun. .220, I definitely feel like the longer trigger row on that. I'm not used to Glock triggers. You can shoot Glock triggers faster than that, but I mean, it's all alpha. Not wildly different on the sensation. 185, the safeties are a little bit easier to manipulate, more familiar to me than the other gun. Let's do the P4 now. P4 is easily the most controllable. If I had to rank them, I would say the P4 is the easiest shooting down to the C2, and it's a pretty good gap. And then I would say that the C3.6 and the Glock clone are pretty close together.
Predictably, there wasn't a whole lot of difference between them other than the shorter single action only triggers is easier to run faster than the Glock style trigger. You can run Glock triggers much faster, but it's kind of a learned skill, and I'm not super fluent on Glocks right now at the moment, so I ran the Glock trigger a bit slower.
Same deal at about 20 yards. We'll go with the P4, shoot them in reverse order, see where we land. .261, that felt pretty good. Let's see what happens. .291, little jumpier. .297. So 304.
Predictably, moving back to the 20-yard line, the bigger, fatter, heavier guns performed better. I started with the HD P4, so the times went up as the guns got smaller and lighter. Then I went back to 25 yards and just shot slow fire groups offhand to see what I could get out of the guns. I'm not going to make you watch all of me shooting groups slowly, but you can see the shape of the groups.
C3.6, the 0 is a little bit right. Got a couple stacking there, but the 0 needs about 4 clicks of adjustment, probably 6 clicks of adjustment to get it into the middle of the target. Shadow Systems makes an accurate gun. That's pretty good stuff. C2 looks brilliant. That's a great group right there. Just a little vertical stringing, which is what you want. HD P4, the group's not as good as the C2, but the time was a little bit quicker, so not a huge difference between all the guns.
The initial group I put out with the C3.6 was garbage. Did a redemption run and got this.
All right, so that was a 619 slow fire, 10 shots. You can see on the timer there, number of shots 10. Focus, and down at the bottom it says 10. But that's better. I think the gun is very capable, but my head and my heart are having a disagreement at the moment.
That's a better indication of what the gun is. That was definitely a me issue on the first one, but showing you all the warts along the way. So we learned what we already knew to be true is that bigger, heavier guns are easier to shoot than smaller, lighter guns. But I do think that this gun is sized at a wonderful kind of compromised position where it's easy to shoot well. I would prefer it over the Glock clone, but the results aren't markedly better. What the comparison did show us is these Metgar mags do not fit in that Shadow Systems Glock clone, and that's been something I've heard reported is that unless you swap Glock's mag catch to a metal mag catch, the Metgar magazines don't stay in the guns particularly well. So I said it at the beginning and I'll say it again, this is my second favorite Staccato behind the XC, so much so that I went through the trouble of getting a holster spun up for it, and I ordered 4 more of the Metgar magazines to have those magazines, because those magazines are honestly brilliant. And sort of finishing up talking about the different Staccatos in the range, I don't have them out of the safe at the moment, but I've got this, the P4 and the P4.5. I think the P4.5 is the better, like, do-all gun. It's not that much bigger than the P4, but it's a little bit nicer shooting, and it just feels like the most special of the guns for, you know, want to do it all at the range. Comes with a magwell if you get it set up that way. It's kind of the coolest 2011 in the mix. The P4 is kind of somewhere in the middle. You can carry it if you want to, because it is small enough to do so. I honestly carried it for quite a bit, but I think that the lighter version of the gun with the shorter grip makes this gun just hide a little bit better than the P4. They're all pretty brilliant guns. If you're looking for one that's kind of like do-all, you're gonna carry it home defense and potentially compete with it, that's probably the P4. If it's just kind of more of a range home defense gun, then definitely the P4.5. If it's just for strict carry gun, then this is the best of them. That's pretty much where it lands. So that is the Staccato HD C3.6. I like it better than my C2, which honestly, for whatever reason, I don't like my C2 very much. I can't get along with it. I can't really tell you why. But if you haven't checked out my video on the HD P4.5, you can see that here.